The pharmacy technician's face said it all before she even spoke. That familiar mix of pity and discomfort as she turned her computer screen away from me. "I'm sorry, Ms. Daniels. Your card was declined. Can you try it again?" I asked, even though we both knew the result. This was the third medication this month I couldn't afford. The pain in my joints was getting worse, but apparently, that didn't matter to my empty bank account. "The total is $347.82, she said gently. "Do you want to just get the most essential one?" I wanted to cry. Which one was most essential? The medication that kept my autoimmune disease from attacking my organs? The one that managed the chronic pain? The one that helped me function enough to attempt a normal life? I'll come back, I mumbled, limping away on my cane. In my car, I checked my bank balance again. $23.47. My disability payment should have been deposited 5 days ago. $1,847 per month. Not a fortune, but enough to cover my medications, rent, and basic needs. Where was it? I called my mother. "Hi, sweetheart." She sounded breathless, happy. Background noise like wind and water? "How's my girl?" "Mom, did my disability check come in?" "I can't find the deposit." "Oh, yes. Dad, and I moved it to the savings account. Better interest rates, you know. We're managing everything for you, remember? I need money for my medications. Can you transfer some back?" A pause. "How much?" $347. "That seems like a lot. Are you sure you need all of them? Maybe talk to your doctor about generic versions." "They're generic, Mom. Can you please just transfer the money? I'll have to talk to your father. We're actually out right now. On the lake." "The lake? Oh, did I mention? We bought a little boat. Nothing fancy, just something for your dad to fish from. You know how his retirement has been hard on him." I stared at my steering wheel, processing. "You bought a boat?" "Just a small one. Anyway, I'll talk to Dad about the medication money. Maybe try calling the pharmaceutical company. Sometimes they have programs for people who can't afford." I hung up. My hands were shaking, and not from my condition. They bought a boat. While I was rationing medications, skipping doses to make them last longer, they bought a boat. I sat in that pharmacy parking lot for an hour, piecing together the last 3 years. Ever since my condition had worsened and I'd been approved for disability, my parents had insisted on helping me manage my finances. "You're so young," Mom had said. "Only 28. You shouldn't have to worry about bills when you're dealing with your health. Let us help." And I'd let them, grateful for the support, trusting them completely. I drove home to my studio apartment, the only thing I could afford, even though my disability payment should have covered something better. My laptop was one of the few nice things I owned, a necessity for the freelance graphic design work I did when I was well enough. I pulled up my Social Security account. 3 years of statements. 3 years of $1,847 monthly payments. That was $66,492 total. I'd been living on maybe $600 a month. Where had the rest gone? I started making calls. First, Social Security, to understand my rights. Then, a disability advocate. Finally, a lawyer who specialized in financial abuse. "This is more common than you'd think," the lawyer, Sandra Chin, told me during our free consultation. "Family members taking advantage of disabled relatives. Can you document your actual expenses versus what you received?" "I can try. They said they were paying my bills directly, but my credit is ruined. I found out last year when I tried to get a phone plan. There are missed payments, defaults. If they were paying my bills, they weren't. Start documenting everything. Every conversation, every denied medication, every bounced check. And Nicole, report this to Social Security immediately. They have an office of the Inspector General that investigates benefit fraud." That night, my parents called repeatedly. I didn't answer. Instead, I went through 3 years of text messages, screenshots, everything. "Can't afford your physical therapy? Maybe try YouTube exercises. $200 for monthly medications seems excessive. Have you tried herbal remedies? Honey, we paid your rent. The rest of your check is in savings for emergencies." Lies. All lies. The next morning, I drove to the Social Security office. The woman who helped me, Mrs. Patterson, listened to my story with growing concern. "You're saying your representative payee has been misusing your funds?" "My parents. They're my representative payee." "And yes. Do you have evidence?" I showed her everything. The texts. The declined medical charges. The bills and collections. The boat purchase they'd posted about on Facebook just yesterday. A retirement gift to ourselves, they'd called it. Mrs. Patterson's expression hardened. I'm going to need to file a report with the OIG. This is serious, Ms. Daniels. Very serious. What happens now? An investigation. In the meantime, we can work on changing your representative payee. Do you feel capable of managing your own benefits? More capable than they were, apparently. The investigation started the next week. Special Agent Martinez called me with questions that made my blood run cold. Ms. Daniels, has anyone else in your family received disability benefits? I don't know. Why? We're finding some patterns in our investigation. Can you think of any elderly or disabled relatives your parents have helped with finances? My stomach dropped. My Uncle Jerome. He had a stroke 5 years ago. And my cousin Lisa's son, he's autistic, gets SSI benefits. My grandmother, before she died, she had dementia. Were your parents involved in their finances? Oh God. They were everyone's go-to for help. Always volunteering to manage things, take care of paperwork. I'll need contact information for these family members. The next months were a blur of investigators, lawyers, and family drama. But the worst day came when Agent Martinez called with the final numbers. Ms. Daniels, I need you to sit down. That bad? Your parents have stolen approximately $47,000 from your benefits over 3 years. $47,000. From you. From your Uncle Jerome, they took $73,000 over 5 years. From your cousin's son, $31,000 over 4 years. From your grandmother's estate, $194,000 over 6 years until her death. I couldn't breathe. $345,000? They stole $345,000. That we can prove. There may be more. They were systematically targeting disabled and elderly family members, becoming their financial representatives, then siphoning money while giving them barely enough to survive. But how? How did no one notice? They were smart, paid just enough bills to avoid suspicion, kept everyone isolated, convinced each person they were a burden who should be grateful for any help. Classic financial abuse tactics. I thought about every family gathering where my parents were praised for their selflessness. Taking care of Jerome, helping Lisa with her son, managing grandma's affairs. Saints, everyone called them. What happens to them now? Federal charges. Wire fraud, Social Security fraud, elder abuse. They're looking at significant prison time. The family explosion was nuclear. My phone rang nonstop as the news spread. Aunts, uncles, cousins, all demanding answers. How could you do this to your parents? Aunt Marie screamed. After everything they've done for the family. They stole $345,000, Aunt Marie. From disabled family members. From your mother. That's impossible. They would never. Check Uncle Jerome's credit report. Ask Lisa why her son's SSI never seems to cover his needs. Ask yourself why Grandma's house sold for $400,000, but her estate only had $50,000. The arrests happened on a Tuesday. I watched from my window as FBI agents led my parents out in handcuffs. Mom was crying, playing the victim even then. Dad looked angry, defiant. The neighbors were out in force, phones recording. They'd been living well. The boat was just the latest. There were vacations, a kitchen renovation, 2 new cars. All while their disabled daughter rationed medication, and their elderly relatives struggled to pay for basic care. During the trial, everything came out. The detailed spreadsheets Dad kept, tracking how much they could take without triggering suspicion. The separate bank accounts Mom maintained, moving money in small enough amounts to avoid reporting requirements. The way they'd convinced each victim they were too sick, too disabled, too incompetent to manage their own money. I was helping, Mom insisted on the stand. These people couldn't handle their finances. I was protecting them. By buying a boat while your daughter couldn't afford medication? The prosecutor asked. She's always been dramatic about her illness. We thought some tough love would motivate her to get better. Autoimmune diseases don't respond to tough love, Mrs. Daniels. We did our best. Your best included stealing $345,000 from vulnerable family members? The guilty verdict was swift. 5 years for Mom, 7 for Dad due to his role as the mastermind. Restitution was ordered, though most of the money was gone. The family fractured completely. Some relatives blamed me for destroying the family. Others were grateful the truth finally came out. Uncle Jerome cried when he learned he wasn't crazy. His bills had been paid late, his credit had been ruined, he had been living in poverty while his sister vacationed on his money. I thought I was losing my mind, he told me. They kept saying I was confused from the stroke, that I was imagining things. Lisa was devastated. I trusted them with my son's future. Every dollar was supposed to go to his care, his therapy, his education. Instead, it went to fund their comfortable lifestyle while the rest of us suffered. The restitution money came slowly. Social Security fast-tracked, changing my payee status. I now manage my own benefits. The first month I received my full payment, I cried. $1,847 seemed like a fortune after years of surviving on scraps. I could afford all my medications. I could see my physical therapist. I could eat more than rice and beans. I could live. But the damage was lasting. My credit is still recovering. My health suffered from years of inadequate treatment. The family will never be the same. Sometimes I get letters from prison. Mom, mostly, still playing the victim. We gave up our lives to help the family, she wrote. This is the thanks we get. I don't respond. What would I say? That taking care of family doesn't mean taking their money? That help isn't help when it leaves people worse off? That stealing from the disabled and elderly isn't a sacrifice. It's a crime? My therapist says I'm processing well. That I'm not responsible for their choices. That reporting them was the right thing to do. You saved other potential victims, she reminds me. Who knows how many more family members they would have targeted. She's right. But some nights, when my joints ache and I remember all those missed doses, all those skipped treatments, all those times I went hungry while they lived well on money meant for my survival, I don't feel like a hero. I feel like what I am, a disabled woman who discovered her parents saw her not as a daughter to protect, but as an income stream to exploit. The boat was sold at auction. I heard it went for $15,000. Someone got a good deal. I hope they enjoy it more than my parents did. I hope they never know it was paid for with the suffering of people who trusted family to care for them. Trust. That's what they really stole. Not just money, but the faith that family means safety. The belief that vulnerability won't be exploited. The confidence that being disabled doesn't make you a target. $345,000. That was the price tag on their betrayal. But the real cost? Immeasurable. I still have my disability. I still struggle. But now I struggle on my own terms, with my own money, making my own choices. I can afford my medications. I can pay my rent. I can live with dignity. It shouldn't have taken federal investigators to give me that. It shouldn't have taken prison sentences to stop them. But it did. And now I know. Sometimes the people who claim to help are the ones causing the most harm. Sometimes protection looks like control. Sometimes love is just a word people use to get access to your vulnerabilities. And sometimes family is the enemy you never saw coming.